Welcome, everybody. It is the Tuesday edition of Talkback, brought to you by Selway Armory on Stockyard Road, Montana's premier firearms dealer. Ponderosa Dental, just off Reserve on 3rd, proud corporate partner of Grizzly Athletics. Western States Cat, the things you need for winter, like deals on batteries at Antifreeze, Missoula Nissan Hyundai, where for a limited time, every new or used vehicle comes with 2 years of free service. Also brought to you by Big Sky Breakout, Missoula's premier escape room on the north side of the Big Yellow House, close to downtown and the interstate. All right, we just want to take a moment to welcome all of our law enforcement professionals who are here today, taking time out of their extremely busy schedules. And I want to tell you, we do appreciate it. In the studio this morning, we have Missoula County Sheriff T.J. McDermott, Missoula Police Chief Mike Brady, University of Montana Police Chief Marty Ludeman. We have Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Sean Finley joining us. Also, Anthony Rio, Captain with the Sheriff's Department. Brenda Bassett is way back there. Hi. Okay. So what I wanted to do is just take a moment and have each one of you just come to the microphone. Maybe, TJ, you go first. You're kind of closest to it there. This is TJ McDermott, the sheriff of Missoula County. Just bring it right up there. There you go. Now, this is a big, tall guy. All right. So let's talk about, I want each of you, if you wouldn't mind, before we start getting phone calls, describe what is the scope of your office and what you do on a daily basis.
Well, first of all, Peter and John, thanks for having me this morning. As sheriff, the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of Missoula County, and I'm also the county coroner. We have a downtown operation where we have about 55 deputies that respond to calls for service, as well as a civil division and a warrants division. And another big part of my job is overseeing the operation of the Missoula County Detention Center, where we have about 105 detention officers and another 15 civilian staff. So lots to do as sheriff of Missoula County.
So your days are full.
Yes.
All right. Okay, Mike Brady, come on up. This is Chief Mike Brady, the Missoula Police Chief. Go ahead, Mike.
Good morning. The Missoula Police Department is about a little over 100 officers sworn. We have about 30 civilian personnel who do all of our records, administrative staff. They man a 24-hour call-in desk that takes minor reports. Our department's responding to somewhere around the neighborhood of 60,000 calls for service a year.
Wow.
And we've had, certainly seen some increases in the last few years in specific areas that are causing us to adjust our manpower and change the way we deliver service. The city itself, we're covering about 30 square miles at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are the specific areas that you're seeing a jump in increased calls?
In our thefts, drugs, our arrests for methamphetamine use, possession have gone up drastically. We've had an unbelievable increase in the petty theft, bike thefts, and misdemeanor thefts from our local local stores that are having an increase in the shopliftings.
Okay. All right, Marty, your turn. Marty Ludeman, the police chief at the University of Montana. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the University of Montana Police Department.
Well, the University of Montana is a fully accredited police department, just like the city police, sheriff's office, highway patrol. We have 15 sworn officers. We're there all year round, every day, 24 hours a day. We have our own dispatch center, which we take calls into and dispatch our own officers. We have 2 canines. Our dog teams are explosive detection animals, and we travel the northwest part of the state of Montana. We've been asked to go as far as Cheney, Washington, to Eastern. We've been to Gardner, doing some things for the U.S.
Do the dogs freak out about the red field?
Oh, they just, yeah. they don't know what to think about that. They're a little confused.
Okay, well, there you go.
A big fire hydrant.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious, are the laws different within the scope of the University of Montana campus?
Not really, but we have quite a bit more options, I think, than the city police and sheriff and patrol. We have what's called student conduct, so we can deal with some minor things without an arrest. We can run them through a student conduct process through the dean of students. And,
so if I'm cheating on my test, are they going to call the University of Montana police for the student conduct charge?
No.
Okay.
That's
so
handled through
what stuff are we talking about here?
Well, IP, minor under drinking alcohol.
Okay.
You know, we come across a student in a resident hall that has consumed some alcohol and is maybe 18, 19, 20 years old. Instead of a physical arrest or a citation, we can run them through a student contact process, which gives them the opportunity to go to counseling and talk about alcohol and how it affects you and at your age and how your mind is growing and just better choices. I guess that's what the luxury of working in a police department on a university setting is. We're more into the education piece. We have crime and we deal with crime, but our biggest function on a campus is helping students grow and make great decisions and move on in their life.
Just want folks to know, phone lines are open. One of the reasons we had this summit is people were calling in and saying, hey, I really want to talk to the heads of the law enforcement. Well, they're all right here. Yeah. So if you have a question or a comment, give us a call at 721-1290. Go ahead.
By the way, I just wanted to add what a cool privilege it is to live in a state and a city and a community where the heads of organizations like our law enforcement departments are willing to come on and talk to the people. They're not shadowy, distant figures. They're right here. And thank you all for being here. You make Missoula a merry place, and I hope you all have Merry Christmas as well.
Okay,
we missed one, though.
Yeah, Highway Patrol Trooper Sean Finley's also here with us. How you doing, Sean? Good to see you.
Doing well.
Well, welcome to the show.
I'm Sergeant Sean Finley. I'm one of 4 detachment commanders here in Missoula, District 1. I'm here representing the captain, Captain Jim Kitchen. And we handle highways and byways, crash investigations, criminal interdiction in 4 counties. So we do Missoula, Ravalli, Mineral, and Sanders. So, with approximately 32 troopers.
So is the Highway Patrol, is it all pretty much run out of Helena? Your dispatch is in Helena, right?
Dispatches in Helena, there's 8 districts throughout the state. So each district has a captain and then 3 or 4 sergeants underneath that, and then the troopers.
Earlier, we heard from Chief Brady that there'd been a spike in petty theft and drugs and stuff like that. Have you noticed trends on the highways, things that are different than the past, increase in certain types of crimes?
We've noticed an increase in vehicle pursuits, drugs coming into the state. We've noticed an increase in that as well.
Yeah, I really wanted to ask all of you gentlemen. Again, we'll start with with Chief Brady this time. We started with TJ last time. How do your agencies work together? Are there specific things or projects or whatever that you guys get together on a regular basis and put your heads together? Because this is all one community here, you know. So are there things that you're working on together?
We're always working together. Our patrol people always look out for each other, help each other out when they need. We also are cooperative members of different task forces. As we have the local Head of Drug Task Force, which we're all members of, and we've had that cooperative arrangement for years. We've had a cooperative arrangement with the University of Montana ever since I can remember. And we've got a violent crimes task force with the FBI that the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department are both members.
So when you say you have a cooperative arrangement, does that mean like you share information, or you the units that's best at handling certain types of crimes handles those types of crimes, or what? Is
there a line of jurisdiction where you have to kind of be real careful of?
We are co-located and work together in those task forces. Ultimately, the sheriff is responsible for crimes that occur in the county, and we're responsible for the crimes that occur in the city. But there's some cross-deputization that goes along with some of those task forces that allows us, as a city officer, to kind of expand and assist them in some of their cases.
Sure. We're up against our first break, but we have Kathleen on the phone. We have 3 other lines open. Our guests in the studio, all representing, they're the bosses of law enforcement here in western Montana. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 721-1290. We're coming right back. Okay, we are back on Talkback, and our law enforcement summit continues here in the. And now, TJ, you wanted to add a little something to what Chief Brady said. Go ahead.
Yeah, the chief touched base a little bit about the drug problem, specifically that we're having in Missoula with methamphetamine. Also, heroin use is on the rise, and as a result, we're seeing an increase in all types of offenses. Our drug task forces are super busy, and the task forces, collectively, city, county, state, and then our federal law enforcement partners, the FBI, DEA, and ATF, have a difficult and dangerous job, but they're doing a great job for our community, and I think a lot of the work that they do goes unnoticed. But the methamphetamine crisis in our community is really as substantial and as big as I've seen it throughout my law enforcement career.
Well, I just want you to know that when the lines are full, whoever the guest is immediately a rock star. You guys are all rock stars. All 4 lines are humming. So we're going to start right now. We're going to do an experiment here. Now, when I put you on, I'm going to turn all the microphones off so that our guests can hear you. So, Kathleen, you are up first. Good morning, and do you have a specific question? Go ahead.
Good morning. I do. First of all, thank you to all of our officers for the sacrifices that they give every day. And then I have a question about the resource officers at the high schools. How do you think that's working? The resource officers at our high schools, is it a good way? Is it a good use of our funds?
Okay, so are the resource? Thanks for the call, Kathleen. Are the resource officers at our schools? First of all, what department are they with, and are they a good spending of our tax dollars to get those done? Mike Brady here. Go ahead.
The Missoula Police Department has officers in the 3 high schools, and then there's one in C.S. Porter. There's also, a safety and security officer for the high schools that does a lot of the active resistance trainings with the Sheriff's Department and the University of Montana. Mm-hmm. We've also got one at Hellgate Elementary. And these are agreements that work very well for us. They allow our officers to be there, intervene, and also more of an educational setting where they can be there and try and eliminate the need for someone to call for police for help. The agreements that we have with the police department also entail the school district paying a portion of the wages for all of those people in the schools. So it's been a long-standing agreement between the police department. And once the grant funding ran out years ago, the school district started picking up a portion of that funding. So it really reduces our calls for service to the schools that then in turn reduce the level of officers on the street.
Now, Mike, when it comes to, because I've been to some of these active shooter training seminars, and does it help the teachers and the students to know that there is a resource officer from the police department there on campus?
Yeah, we get great response from the administrators and from the teachers that they're able to bounce things off each other, and they're able to intervene in some of these some of the things that these kids have going on prior to it being a criminal call.
Sure. All right. Let's get back to the phone and get Mike on the line. Mike, you are on with our guests. You have a specific question. Go ahead.
Yes. For those of us with concealed carry permits, what procedures should we be following to make the officer's job safer when we're pulled over for a routine traffic stop?
Okay. I'm going to get T.J. McDermott to address that. Thanks for the call. So specifically for people with concealed carry, T.J.
If you have a concealed weapons permit and you're stopped or have contact with law enforcement, tell them about it. And usually the best way to do that is to provide your concealed weapons permit along with your driver's license. But tell them as appropriately and as soon as possible if you're packing a weapon. And, again, the easiest way is just to provide your permit.
So don't just haul out your weapon and say, hey, not a good thing. Marty, go ahead.
And I just like to add,
Chief Ludeman, by the way, go ahead.
I'd just like to add that on university campuses, we do not allow concealed weapons permits carry on our campuses. The only people that are allowed to carry firearms on our campus are sworn police officers in the performance of their duties. So you may be have a concealed permit personally, but we wish that you would not bring them onto our campus because we don't allow that.
Sure. So when other officers, say sheriffs or police department folks, come on campus, do they have to let you know that they're there? Or
they usually do, yeah.
Okay.
And they'll make a call to us. As long as they're in an official duty, they're more than welcome to carry a weapon on our campus.
Sure.
But just the atmosphere of what we're trying to accomplish there, we just, the Board of Regents has decided that carry conceal on campuses is not allowed.
Okay, let's get back to the phones. Say good morning to Bill. Bill, you're on Talkback. Hi, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, I was just curious, the other day on the news, I seen on the TV, I seen where people were complaining about a stop sign over in Butte that was lit up at night, and it was so bright, but yet nobody talks about the driving lights on all these rigs nowadays. Some of them are extremely bright. I work at night, and it's just amazing. On Reserve Street, on 2 lanes, people don't shut them off. Extremely bright. I just wonder if you guys could look into that and see what the law really is.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate that. So, Sean, Sean Finley, our Highway Patrol Sergeant, is here. Go ahead.
There are codes that talk about the auxiliary lighting on the vehicles. You can't have them driving down the road. So, if it's not factory equipped, you can use fog lights, obviously, but that auxiliary lighting that most people are having on their bumpers now are not allowed to be used while driving down the roadway.
Okay, so what happens if you come upon somebody like that? Do you pull them over? And
we stop and say hi.
Do you give them a warning first, or what?
It depends on the circumstance. I don't think everybody deserves a citation because a lot of people don't know what the laws are. So we try to educate as much as we try to enforce.
Okay.
Just curious, how many stop and say hi's do you do in a day? Is it frequent? Is it like the most common thing of your day?
For me, not so much anymore. But for the troopers, we try to get out and be proactive and say hi to people, and that's why we're here, to educate and enforce the laws of Montana.
So I've been pulled over like twice in my whole life. I remember every single event very distinctly. In fact, once was just a couple weeks ago. I didn't get charged with anything, just so everyone knows. But my question was are we talking about 20, 15 times a day or less, do you think, for a regular trooper?
Depends on the day. Snow days are obviously different than a sunny summer day. But the guys do make between 5 and 12, 13 stops a day is not uncommon.
Wow. Okay, we're up against a break. We're going to come right back. Ray, we'll get you on. We have 3 other lines open at 721-1290, and our law enforcement summit continues. We'll be back. Okay, we're back. We're running really short of time here with this segment, so I want to get at least one more call in. Ray, you are on with our guest. Do you have a specific question? Go ahead.
Good morning. I just wondering what everybody's considered opinion on the concealed carry permits in general.
Okay. So, concealed carry, it's the law, right, TJ? Go ahead.
It is. As sheriff, I fully support the Second Amendment and a person's right to possess weapons. We approve a lot of concealed weapons permits at our office.
I was just going to say, what is the process of getting one? Because that's a very good question.
Well, you come down to the sheriff's office. There's a standard application packet that we have that you fill out. We do a background check to make sure that the person is not prohibited. And then it usually takes within 60 days by statute. We have to issue the permit, and the cost is around $50 to $80.
Okay. Now, is there a pretty significant time factor between the time you apply and the time you get one, or does it vary?
Well, it depends. It definitely varies. It seems like who's in office usually sends people down for permits. But we have a good staff. They work very hard. They have the system down, and their turnaround time is pretty short.
Okay. Let's get to one more call in. John, you're on with our guests. You have a specific question. Go ahead.
Yes. Have you guys, thanks for being there. Have you, any of your offices, made any contingency plans for driving attacks in crowds, such as the markets we have in Missoula, even though we're little old Missoula, such as happened in Germany, in Berlin?
Okay, thanks for the call. So terrible things have been happening. One in Nice, France, one in Germany, because we have large farmers markets, things like that. So,
well, I'll step up to the mic again here.
Okay.
I think our law enforcement agencies collectively, we've done a lot of planning together, and we've done a lot of training with not only active resistance, but also our tactical teams. The sheriffs SRT team has done some training as well with the city SWAT team and planned for different types of scenarios and trained in case they occur in our community so that we can not be caught off guard and try to bring forward a proper response.
We've started looking at our street closures and the permitting for the street closures and when they're going to start redirecting traffic or close some of our city streets. This summer we started looking at do we need to do a little bit of a different barricade to protect the pedestrians that end up in those street closures. So it is something that we've thought about and are looking at.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to take a break. Come right back after the top of the hour. Lines are open. Jeff, if you don't mind holding, we're going to get you on in a moment. 721-1290 is our number. 1-800-568-5309. You're also welcome to submit your questions or comments on our Facebook page. We'll pass them along to our guests. Another hour to come on Talkback with our law enforcement guests in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of Talkback, our special law enforcement summit going on, and it's brought to you by Selway Armory, Ponderosa Dental, Western States Cat, Missoula Nissan Hyundai, and also brought to you by Big Sky Breakout. And there's nothing to do with the jail. So,
actually, one of the games is a jail.
Ooh, okay. Well, here's what I wanted to do. Before we get to Jeff and Mark, and thank you for holding, there has been a huge increase in violence against law enforcement across our country, and a lot of people are looking at it with, just wondering why in the world. I want to find out what's happening in Missoula. So, Chief Brady, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the microphone, I want to ask you about community support for the police department and how that's going for you. I mean, specifically the Missoula Police Department, what kind of feedback are you getting back from citizens?
We've had a great outpouring of support for our department, for law enforcement in general here in the community. I think a key to it is the last 3 to 4 years, we've been very much a focus on how the community's focused on how we handle certain cases and how we treat victims, and I think we've developed some lines of communication within the community, and we've made some of our other efforts to reach out better, and we've been really pleased with the support that this community has shown to us.
Has some of that had to do with the fact that the Department of Justice came in and kind of addressed all of the law enforcement community in regards to sexual assault? Did it have something to do with it?
Well, I think so. We reached out, formed partnerships with a lot of community partners that can help us do our job better. We've as a group of law enforcement agencies in the community, we've all trained to a different standard. We've trained to a different, our practices are different. We do a better job of handling the victims in all of the cases all the incidents we have. And I think the community recognized our effort to try and be better.
Okay. So TJ, if you wouldn't mind, talking from your perspective as the county sheriff, I'll never forget. I was walking into Justice Court the other day, and here's Captain Burt in the big truck, and he's hauling this trailer full of bikes. And I have never seen a law enforcement officer with a bigger smile on his face. He was out to deliver bikes to kids, and it was the top of his day. So, tell me about what you guys are going through.
Well, the Missoula community is just the best community, I think, to work law enforcement. I wouldn't want to be sheriff in any other community. We enjoy a great deal of support in our community with some of the shootings and fatal killings of police officers that we've seen around the nation. We had an outpouring of support similar to what Chief Brady described, with lots of food and snacks and things being dropped off at our office, which is important to the law enforcement officers and our detention officers to know that they have the community support. So it's been good. It's been a good experience to be a law enforcement officer in this community, and part of that is just working with the community. You know, the sheriff's office for the first time has a crime victims advocate assigned to our office, working with our detectives to try to coordinate and provide better services to victims of crimes. And so we're growing, and we're also learning how to do things better and meet the needs of the community as well.
So we don't have all the numbers in, and whatever you answer, you're not like held liable or anything, but I'm just curious. Do you feel that 2016, this is for every department, because I bet it's different in some of the departments or areas of law enforcement, but do you feel like 2016 was a more intense crime year than 2015? If you think it was, that we had more crime in 2016 than 2015, raise your hand. So no, everyone thought 2015 was a tougher year?
Well, to speak to that, I'd say specifically, I would raise my hand with drug crime and violent crime related to methamphetamine and heroin.
But not overall. You must have seen decreases in other stuff.
But overall, I wouldn't say that all crimes are up. No, but violent crime, specifically crimes related to methamphetamine use and drug trafficking into our community, historically from the Tri-City areas, that now encompasses through Interstate 15 and up that way as well, and just the sheer volume of methamphetamine that's available in our community, and the profit that's made by people tripping it and selling it into our community, I think has increased, specifically robberies and drug rips and some of the violent assaults that we've seen.
Obviously, with meth, it's something that every one of the agencies is going to be involved in. And even if we all performed our best, unless we have some kind of wall between us and Washington, it's still not going to totally solve the problem. It's a multi-agency national problem. What are the things that you think that we could or should be doing different that we aren't yet to crack down on meth?
Well, as I had mentioned earlier, I think that our investigators that are assigned to the drug task forces in town, the HIDA drug task force, as well as the Montana Regional Violent Crime FBI task forces, need our support. And it's important that they continue to work collectively to deal with not only drug users, but drug trafficking organizations. Chief Brady and I, a couple months ago, attended a briefing where FBI agent Monty Shade provided some statistics to the agency heads of partnering agencies with the task force. And since the summer of 2015, we had learned that they had recovered about 30 pounds of methamphetamine, 150 weapons, some illegal weapons, sawed-off shotguns, assault rifles, and the increases that we've seen on the state level aren't necessarily taken into account the couple dozen people, violent offenders that have been indicted in the federal system as well, where oftentimes it's not publicly made known.
Sure.
But there's a lot of work that's going on.
Chief Brady, what meth in the police department? How are you guys handling it?
Well, I think the community has to help us. I think that there's definitely a need for us to have some options when we encounter people that are in need of treatment. They're at a real vulnerable state, and jail doesn't fix them, nor does it make it better. And I think that there's some opportunities here in the community, and there's many different agencies looking at how can they step up, how can they help, whether it's intervention with young adults or it's detox or services in the mental health area as well. Our incidence of persons in crisis, whether it be related to drug addiction, alcohol addiction, are increasing and are consuming a lot of our time, a lot of the emergency responders' times, ambulance, fire. And our hospital emergency rooms are beyond capacity. And I think that it's a community-wide effort, and there's a lot of different agencies in the community that are willing to work on it, but it's a big problem.
We're going to take a quick break, and Jeff and Mark, I promise as soon as we get back, we're going to get you guys on to get your questions answered. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. This is Talk Back. And our guests in studio, we are privileged to have with us Missoula County Sheriff T.J. McDermott, Police Chief Mike Brady, University of Montana Police Chief Marty Ludeman, and also Montana Highway Patrol Sergeant Sean Findlay. So,
we did talk about meth with the police and the sheriff's department, but I know Marty, I'm sure, deals with it, or Chief Ludeman does on the University of Montana campus. But after the chief of police,
okay, go ahead.
But both the sheriff and the chief had mentioned that it came in from the Tri-Cities area. So I guess the first point of contact would really be the highway patrol. Usually, is that right?
So, Sean,
we do have a lot of interaction with people bringing drugs into our state. We have a team, a criminal and addiction team that goes out to these locations to make contact. We're pretty successful. If you look at some of the seizures that the Highway Patrol has had over the last few years, is pretty incredible.
Now, do you have with the Highway Patrol? Do you have canine officers as well?
Yes, we do.
You do. Okay. So when you find like a suspicious-looking vehicle along the highway, you stop them and call for the canines, or what?
And we're pretty fortunate here in Missoula County. The sheriff's office also has canines along with the city police. So we're pretty fortunate here in our county that we're able to reach out to our partners and they respond pretty quickly. So it works out really well for us.
That's another case of interagency cooperation.
Correct. And again, that's another fortunate fact. Our agency, the state, gets along with the county and city great. So we don't have any issues whatsoever asking for help, and we get it.
I was talking to Sheriff McDermott off air, and he was talking about meth and a marijuana sniffing dog, a bomb sniffing dog, a cadaver sniffing dog. I mean, there's so many different types. It's pretty crazy.
Well, they obviously haven't seen me cook. All right, let's get Jeff. You are on the line with our law enforcement guest. What's your question, sir? Hello, Jeff. Are you there? Oh, hold on. That's the wrong one. All right, there we go. Jeff, I'm sorry. You're on with our guest. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for all you guys do for us in the communities. My question is a little more mundane, I think, than some of them. I travel up and down 93 a lot, and some places have traffic lights on the highway with the flashers that precede them to notify you that the light's about to change. But the time of notification it gives you seems to vary. For example, the one south of Missoula is just fine, but when I drive between Ronan and Polson, I have driven underneath that light with it not flashing, but then had the light turn yellow before I got to the intersection. So I'm just wondering, is there somebody who handles that sort of the programming of those lights that I could contact to let them know that, I think particularly in weather like we have now, that sometimes notification isn't sufficient to stop somebody from trying to slam on their brakes and maybe cause an accident.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call. So is that something the state of Montana would handle? So, Sean?
Yes, that's the Department of Transportation's responsibility. They do site surveys for all those intersections, and they determine what the lapse time would be between the flashing yellow and the actual red or green lights. So Department of Transportation would be the person to contact.
Okay, that's good. Now we've got to get Mark on the line. Mark, you're on with Talkback. Go ahead.
Hello, officers. Happy holidays, and I hope it's a quiet one, including New Year's. And when I was in the military, in the Army, in the 80s and 90s, we had a SOFA card, Status of Forces Agreement, and anything except for the big three, murder, assault with a deadly weapon, or rape, anything else, the police in that country would have to call the local MPs before they arrest us. So do the international students have the same sort of agreement? That's my question. Now listen out there.
International students, Marty Ludeman, Chief of the University of Montana Police Department. So
we do have a large international population. I think we're up to about 500-600 students on our campus that are foreign nationals, and they go through a tremendous amount of orientation, and a lot of the things that we deal with is cultural changes between where they come from and how they interact here in the United States. We have some requirements when we do take somebody in for questioning or arrest to notify their embassy, afford them all of those responsibilities. But as far as them being held accountable to our laws, it's very well oriented to them that they have to participate in our legal process
So
and
it's
held
up
to those standards.
It's up to them to learn our laws, right?
Well, and it's up to the university to teach them, and we do that. We do that quite a bit. We have a great program that deals with that. But they're held accountable. They do have certain protections under their embassies and their countries, but overall they abide by our rules.
Okay.
While you're on the mic, Chief Ludeman, have you noticed an increase in meth at the university as well?
Not so much on the university. I think the drug of choice for us is marijuana. We deal with a lot of marijuana, and it has to do with we have a lot of students that come from states that it's legal. So we do a tremendous amount of education about it may be legal from where you come from, but when you come to the state of Montana, we don't recognize that even though it may have been purchased legally from, say, the state of Washington, we don't recognize that, and we don't allow even medical marijuana use on our campus. It's
really?
Just not. It's again, that's a Board of Regents ruling that we just don't accept medical marijuana use on our campus.
The Board of Regents transcends state law.
Well, it doesn't transcend state law, but it's a policy that our campuses have acquired, and it's just not allowed in our.
In many ways, the campus is kind of an island in the midst of various jurisdictions. Is that right?
It is. We have our rules and policies that are set forth by our governing bodies, and that's part of what we do. We have state law and university policies and procedures.
Okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I wanted to ask our. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say when we come back, we got a ton of Facebook questions.
We do. Okay, we have Facebook questions. We'll get them first. All right. Forget the announcer guy. We're gonna come right back with more of Talk Back. By the way, all 4 of our lines are open, and these gentlemen are going to be with us till 10 o'clock this morning. So
I will say most of these questions are pertaining to what laws and how the laws work. And if you have a question, something you haven't been able to figure out, and you're confused like an international student about America's laws or Montana's laws, give us a call, 721-1290.
All righty, here we go. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. Our law enforcement summit, I guess you might call it, is going on right now. And we have the sheriff, the chief of police, University of Montana chief of police, and the sergeant from the Highway Patrol. We have some Facebook questions.
Yeah, well, Matt has like a whole list of everything he's been thinking about. So we're just going to go through these one by one.
He's been saving up. All right.
So Matt says, with winter driving and getting rock chips, I have questions about mud flaps and what is actually required for vehicles. So does anyone know the law on mud flaps in here?
Sergeant Finley.
Everyone's looking at Sergeant Finley to walk to the
I'll try to muddle through it.
Get it? Muddle? Get it? Sorry.
He should be on the radio.
Mud flaps are required depending on the GVW for the vehicle. So if the GVW is 8,000 pounds or more, you're required to have mud flaps that are not more than 10 inches.
Now, what if when I get in the vehicle, if it goes over 8,000 pounds? does that change it?
Yeah, maybe. And then the other one is, people driving, like I have a 1,500 pickup truck.
Sure.
So my vehicle, even though it's factory, is anything over 20 inches. You can have more than 20 inches. So I'm required to have mud flaps on my Dodge 1500. So if you have mud flaps and you cause a rock chip to another vehicle, then it's an act of God. So basically, you're covered.
It's just an accident.
It's an accident. It's something that happens in Montana quite frequently. However, if you do not have the required mud flaps on your vehicle and you cause damage to the person behind you, then you could, in fact, be held responsible for that.
I didn't even think to take names and numbers when I got those chips in my windshield. Now, maybe I will. Another follow-up question from Matt. He says, what about when people enter the interstate? Who has to yield, and what is the best course of action when you are entering the interstate and there's a lot of traffic? Should you stop? Is this something that citations can be given for?
In Montana, the through highway has the right of way. So regardless of where that vehicle is on the lane of travel, the people entering the highway have to yield to the through traffic. In fact, you do have to stop. If you can't enter that highway safely, then even though you're coming on the on-ramp, you do have to stop and allow them to pass.
So the idea, if I'm coming on the on-ramp, that I have some sort of right, people have to move over for me, they don't.
Not in Montana.
Okay.
There are some states, eastern states, where you're required to move over if you can.
Right.
In Montana, no.
Now, while we have Sergeant Findlay here, the Highway Patrol put together one of the most profound videos I've ever seen of a traffic accident that occurred, I think it was 2014, up by Frenchtown. And when I first saw that, I was so moved that we put it on our website, and we've rerun it several times, about winter weather driving. And so here we are right in the middle of winter, and here you are standing here. So what can you tell us? And, of course, if TJ or Mike or anybody else wants to talk about, how people just need to slow down when it comes to winter driving.
Right, because you never know what's happening in front of you. So the incident that you're talking about, we had a great trooper that did what he had to do to save a life. And we had a deputy that was injured so severely that his career ended during that crash. So winter driving, we have to anticipate what's ahead. So allow the distance, slow your speed down. You see lights, slow and move away from those lights. Unless they're behind you, then move to the right and stop. But you have to slow down. You have to allow enough time between point A and point B. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, you can't rush in the wintertime, regardless of where you're going.
Yeah, the scary part about that video is here are semis and big pickup trucks hauling trailers, and they're zooming by doing 70 miles an hour on this really icy road where there are people injured and cars crashed along the highway. I couldn't understand that.
And we can as well. When you look at that video, we have the same reaction that anybody that watches that video has. What happened? Can you not see the lights? Do you not recognize the weather? And truck drivers, they're excellent drivers. Sometimes it's a mundane day for them, and they're just driving, and they just forget to allow the distance.
Sure. All right. Let's get to the phones and say good morning to Kathy. Kathy, you're on with our law enforcement guests. What's your question?
Well, I have a great question because my husband and I argue over this all the time, and I'm hoping and praying I'm right. So, okay. And I wish he was listening right now, darn it. Okay, so let's pretend you're pulling out. Let's say you're at Who Hot up on Brooks, and you're going to make a left turn pulling out of their parking lot. So there's a lot of traffic, so you can only clear the first two lanes that are going south. So you go into like the middle turn lane, and then you wait for the traffic in the other two lanes to get past, and then you go out the rest of the way. Is that legal?
There's a pointing battle about who should take it.
Pointing at each
I
other.
saw at least two fingers going to Chief Mike Brady, so I think we're probably going to get the chief on this one.
This is a city call, Mike.
Because Who Hot was the example.
Okay, this has gone back and forth over the years about whether or not you can use it as a merge lane. I guess is probably what she's referring to, and I'm going to have to say, I believe at the last time I heard it was allowed to be used as a merge lane, and it's not to be used as a turn lane if you're passing an intersection. In other words, some people go into that lane and then just go several blocks to make their turn. You can't pass that intersection.
So basically, I can't get in that lane and drive and look in my rearview mirror until the space clears, because I could run into something.
I believe but I'm going to say I'm going to have to go either. I'm going to have to go to the Highway Patrol, or I'm going to have to go to the Traffic Division.
All right. Okay. Sergeant Finley. So how are we doing on this one?
I think the chief did a great job. And Brooks is actually a U.S. highway. So
I didn't see you jumping up to the microphone.
You do have to stop. So you can't use that turn lane for movement. So, and the chief gave a good example when you're approaching like Reserve and South, you have people hop in that turn-only lane and pass everybody to make a left-hand turn. The problem with that is if you have people that are ahead of you in the line of traffic and they're trying to make a left as well, they just assume that if they're in the right spot to make that turn, they just pull out in front of you and there's a collision. So, yeah, you use the turn lane. That turn lane is for to move into, stop, and make your turn.
Well, somewhere there's a sad husband because Kathy called back celebrating that she was right.
All right. We're going to get Frank's call in a minute. We also have more Facebook questions. Our guests are in studio to answer your questions, folks. So if you have a question for our law enforcement professionals, give us a call at 721-1290. This is Talkback. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back. This is Talk Back, 721-1290. Our guests in studio, Missoula County Sheriff T.J. McDermott, Missoula Police Chief Mike Brady, University of Montana Police Chief Marty Ludeman, and we also have Montana Highway Patrol Sergeant Sean Finley with us. He's been getting the majority of the deals here. People are deferring to him. So
the other law enforcement agents are kind of pushing him to the mic as well. So I don't know how much of that is.
All right. Frank, you are on Talk Back with our guests. What's your question, sir?
Sheriff McDermott, the jail is constantly overcrowded, severely overcrowded, and Missoula County has about 5,000 outstanding warrants. These people cannot possibly be arrested because there's no place to put them. So what's the solution?
Okay, thanks for the call, Frank.
Good question.
You've got the jail diversion program, right?
All right, great question, Frank. And that was probably one of my first challenges upon being elected sheriff, was dealing with jail overcrowding and over-incarceration. Plans were underway to build onto our jail and make our jail larger to the tune of about $15 million to taxpayers. And so what we did is we wanted to look at the jail population and try to identify a group of people that are nonviolent, non-dangerous, that suffer from substance abuse or addiction issues. Worse yet, people that are in our jail with mental illnesses, and try to come up with a diversion to divert them out of our jail into a proper treatment facility. So early on, I commissioned a panel of elected officials that worked with local stakeholders. Myself, Commissioner Colaroli, City Councilor Emily Bentley, worked very hard on coming up with a master plan for our community. State Senator Cynthia Wolken was hired as a consultant, and she put forward a jail diversion master plan that I'm proud to say has been adopted recently by the City of Missoula, also by the Missoula County Board of Commissioners, who
tomorrow they're going to adopt.
Tomorrow they will officially sign the resolution adopting the master plan. And
there's actually a talkback episode we did with Cynthia about a month and a half ago. If you want to go look it up on YouTube, and she goes into depth on the plan.
It is the Missoula City County Jail Diversion Master Plan is both on the city county website. I believe it's also on KGVO's website as well. And so that plan is exciting because that'll give us an opportunity to expand treatment options for people with substance abuse or addictions. We're working with some of the stakeholders, including the hospitals, to try to come up with a 24-hour mental health crisis facility. And because the plan involves local, city, county, and state elected officials, legislatively there's some bills specifically being carried by Senator Cynthia Wolken to have the state match funds that local governments spend on pretrial programs. So it's all exciting stuff for our community.
Let me ask you this. How many inmates or prisoners or inmates, I guess what you call them, at the Missoula County Jail fit into that category? So if you were to automatically just remove all of them, how many inmates would remain in the jail?
Well, from our studies and review of the data that's available, about 60% of the inmate population in the Missoula County Jail technically is nonviolent and in jail for a number of reasons, but reasons that have been identified are substance abuse issues. About 10% suffer from mental illnesses, and our jails kind of become the only place to house these people, and that's where it's put super challenges on the men and women that work at the detention center to try to care for these people. We're not trained to care for people with mental illnesses, and the facility doesn't give them the proper treatment that they need. So it would be a big relief if all of the recommendations in the jail diversion plan were adopted and funded by city and county.
It seems to me that there's a tertiary problem. Even if we solve the problem at the jail and we have a place and we decide to move people that have addictions to addiction therapy or mental illness to a place that specializes with mental illness, it's my understanding that those facilities in the nearby area are also at capacity or close.
And that's very true. One of the things being a law enforcement officer is when you interact with someone who is hooked on drugs and has an addiction, and they've lost their job, they've been arrested, they've severed ties with their family, and they could tell you today that they've had enough and they want out and they want this life to end. And the big problem that law enforcement faces and our community faces is that we have nowhere for them. No treatment facilities, no mental health facilities, other than some of the state-run facilities that have long waiting lists, and these people often find themselves, sitting in jail for a long time if that's the only option available for them. It's a tragic problem in our community.
But their problem just gets worse.
And it does. Yeah. It compounds. This addiction is a big problem in our community, and the jail diversion master plan I'm very proud of. A lot of people did some great work on that program, and hopefully I'm looking forward to seeing that move ahead in the future.
Okay, thanks, TJ. Marilyn and Jim, your guys are up next when we come back from our break. About 20 minutes left in the show. If you have a question for our law enforcement professionals, give us a call at 721-1290. This is Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. That's John King over there. I'm Peter Christian. Joining us in the studio, we've got our law enforcement professionals, ladies and gentlemen, the safest room in Missoula right now. Missoula County Sheriff T.J. McDermott, Police Chief Mike Brady, University of Montana Police Chief Marty Ludeman. We have Sergeant Sean Findlay with the Montana Highway Patrol.
It might not be safe for Peter and I, though. Jen says this means that you two better behave or the police will arrest you both.
Well, it's kind of hard to do the show with my hands in handcuffs, and but I'm doing the best I can.
And Jay has a question. He wants to know, is it true that women don't need a concealed carry permit to carry a gun in their handbag?
Okay, Sheriff McDermott.
Well, that's not true. What I've learned actually at break, just speaking with Sergeant Finley, the latest opinion that we have from a prosecutor, that if you're have a garment or a backpack and it's attached to your body, that you do, in fact, need a concealed weapons permit.
So a handbag, though, is something like you're carrying like a purse. Would you need to have a concealed carry permit to carry a gun in your purse?
Not a purse, no. But such as a backpack, if it's attached to your body.
Gotcha. So if the carrying device is strapped to me, I need a concealed carry. But if I'm actually carrying it independently of myself, then I don't. Does that be a fair?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct. Thanks for clarifying.
Well, I asked Chief Brady if I was to just walk down the street wearing a pair of 6 guns. Okay. So and they're out there in the open for everybody to see. Go ahead, Mike. Would I need a concealed carry permit because they're not concealed?
Correct. It's an open carry.
Okay.
And concealed carry is on person, and it's covered by clothing or whatnot, and the latest opinion that we had was that the backpack strapped to you was considered concealed, but not a purse.
Okay, all right. Let's go.
I look forward to the day when Peter's walking down the street with a pair of 6 guns.
Yeah, that would be a sight. Marilyn, you're on Talkback with our guest. Go ahead.
Good morning. Okay, I always get disturbed when government is the answer. To me, it's not the answer. We have a spiritual problem in this country, and we keep throwing money at the problem, and that's not the answer, but that wasn't why I called in. So, okay, I've been a sidewalk counselor out in front of the abortion clinic here in town for many years and at different ones across the country, and sex trafficking is a problem, statutory rape is a problem, rape is a problem, incest is a problem. The bureaucracy of reporting this is horrendous, and law enforcement usually turns their head the other way and treats the abortion clinic as the victim. So do you ever get calls from the abortion clinic here in town about statutory rape or sex trafficking, let alone the murder that they do? But anyways, do you ever get those calls?
Okay, let's ask them. Thank you for the call. Gentlemen, anything from any of the clinics that provide abortion services? Any calls?
Sex trafficking,
or prostitution,
incest,
things like that, yeah.
We have detectives that focus on human trafficking through the Violent Crimes Task Force here in town.
No, Guy Baker's one of them, right?
Correct, Guy Baker. And the Sheriff's Department also has a deputy in that task force. We take calls from victims. We take calls from third parties who are reporting for a victim who may not be willing to come forward. So we don't track the business location that these calls come from, but we track the respondent, the caller.
I'm really glad this comment came up because I know TJ, you and Mike both, and maybe Marty as well. Sexual assaults, from what I understand from visiting with Kirsten Pabst and the other attorneys, is probably one of the most difficult crimes to investigate and prosecute. Is that correct? I mean, simply because it involves two people, and there's a lot of unknowns there. Is that correct?
Well, it's the unknowns and it's the myths that are prevalent about what actually sexual assault is, and we in this community have spent several years trying to work together to educate ourselves as well as educate the community.
Is there a definition, a legal definition of a sexual assault, what it is, and so you'd know it when you see it?
There is different definitions in Montana for sexual assault, but the detectives work with the prosecutors to determine the appropriate charges prior to charging. We obviously have had tremendous efforts on all of our behalfs with our people who deal with these victims are trying extremely hard to present in a fashion that doesn't bias the investigation, that really tries to make the victim feel like they are being heard, and that we will do everything we can to take care of them.
Yeah. So Marty, if you wouldn't mind, on the University of Montana campus, there's been stories. There's a book. There's all sorts of things that have gone on. When it comes to sexual assault, is there a different definition on the campus as opposed to within the city or the county?
No, and I think through our Department of Justice time frame that we were involved with for 3 years has taught us that the city, the county, and the sheriff's office, we all investigate those crimes identically. In other words, we treat the victims the same. So if a university police officer comes in contact with a victim, they're treated the same as they would a sheriff's officer or a city police. We just felt that was the right thing to do. What we do on our campus, though, is that we do a tremendous amount of education with incoming freshmen.
Yeah, the PETSA, right?
Right. We've developed a training around that, and we talk a lot about consent because for students, that's the big question, is what is consent, what isn't consent. If alcohol is involved, how much alcohol does it take to not be able to give consent? So we tackle those issues on our campus in trainings, and that's a great thing that university police can be involved in those trainings. But our campus partners, that's really high on our priority is making students aware of no means no and those sort of things, so they understand or try to understand the complex surroundings of contact with others, sexual contact especially. So I'm really proud of our university and how we step forward in that education piece. Over time, that will, we're starting to see that education drop into the grade school levels here in Missoula, and we're seeing those incoming freshmen that have been indoctrinated into that culture of consent and knowing what consent is. So I think we've kind of seen the corner. I don't know if we've turned it yet, but I think we're in a lot better place than we were 3 years ago in this community.
Okay, we're going to come right back. We have a 1-minute break, and we have 3 calls, and we have a bunch of Facebook. We're not going to get them all in, but we'll do the best we can. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back on Talkback. Only a few precious minutes remaining with our very gracious law enforcement guests. We appreciate all their time today. Let's get to the phone. Catherine, you're up first. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Yeah, there was a conviction recently of a guy by the name of Jordan Barr, I believe, that I read in the news, and his sentencing is not for a while, but meanwhile he's free on bail. So I'm curious, how much resource from the police department is taken up by tracking or keeping track of people who are out on bail prior to sentencing?
Thanks for the call. So, Chief Brady, anybody who is, so let's say they've been convicted of a crime, especially a sexually related crime, and they're out on bail pending sentencing, Is there special treatment of those folks?
We at the police department don't track those. The court may make stipulations that they have to sign up with I can't quite think of the name of it, compliance monitoring companies here in town. But at the police department, someone who is currently in the court system and out on bond, we are not tracking.
Okay.
This is a question for the chief of police and Chief Ludeman as well. It has to do with sanctuary cities and sanctuary campuses. A question from Claire. She says, how does the UM sanctuary campus resolution affect law enforcement?
He's walking slowly to the microphone.
And then the follow-up question is, and the soon-to-be proposed Missoula City sanctuary resolution, how would that affect police departments?
Well, on our campus, I mean, I think we strive for conversation, and we're very diverse on our campus, and I think we hold that dear to our hearts as a university campus is, especially a liberal arts school. So those conversations are ongoing. They change a lot. I mean, almost daily. But I think that this community in itself is a caring place, and that's kind of how we go forward. I don't think it enters into our mind of how we do it or how we do our job. But we just realize that it's important to our campus, it's important to the community to be diverse, to understand that everybody has a right to certain life rights.
I've lived overseas with a visa myself before for multiple years in Japan. And if I were to have overstayed my visa and didn't do my proper paperwork, I could end up in a waiting facility for a while. And there would have been no hesitation. Of course, I followed the law and made sure I got myself checked and all my paperwork covered. But if someone were to overstay their visa, and I'm sure there's international students that have at the University of Montana, what would be the process for that now that the university is a sanctuary campus?
Well, I think we have a tremendous amount of staff that monitors that, daily. They deal with visa issues and communications. I know that I just had a presentation by our human resources area on our campus, and they have a designated person that just looks at those things and contacts and stays in communication with students that are under visas and how do we employ them because there's certain employment rules and all those sort of things. So we have dedicated staff that do that daily. So we stay on top of it pretty good.
We've got about 2.5 minutes left in the program. So Chief Brady, if you wouldn't mind, this whole sanctuary city idea with Missoula, has that been passed? I mean,
no, it has not.
Has it been proposed?
No, I don't believe there is a formal proposal.
Okay. It's only been discussed by people.
Okay,
right.
It hasn't yet been fully proposed yet.
And if we have an issue in which we have concern that someone is here illegally or someone has overstayed their visa, then we'll consult with the appropriate officials and we work with them. But to my knowledge, there was rumor that started that council was bringing forward a resolution, but I have not seen one.
Yeah, I know that some people talked with the mayor about it, but it's before it even gets to council level of discussion.
Okay, I think we have time for one more very, very brief call. Jim, you got about 30 seconds. Go.
Okay, oncoming traffic yielding to emergency equipment, specifically school buses, on roads with median. Does that have to be a physical barrier before you don't have to stop?
Okay. Sergeant, go ahead. What do you think?
Does anybody?
That's one that even I might have to check. I believe if there's a physical barrier, it makes it a separate roadway. It does for crashes. So I would say that you do not have to stop if there's a physical barrier.
Okay. All right. I just want to say, go ahead, John. We are like a minute away from being done. I just want to say thank you to Sheriff T.J. McDermott, Police Chief Mike Brady, University of Montana Police Chief Marty Ludeman, of course, Sergeant Sean Finley with the Montana Highway Patrol, Brenda and Anthony, and all you guys back there, and Jason. And thank you all for being with us today. And I think the Missoula community is behind you guys. And because of the hard work you do, you guys put your lives on the line every day, and we appreciate it. So I just want you to know. So,
and just a heads up to our listeners, no talk back for the next couple days. Peter and I are getting a new mic in the studio, and we're taking some time off. Merry Christmas to you as well.
So this is the final talk back program until the first of the year.
The second of the year.
Second of the year. All right. So anyway, thanks to all you guys. Merry Christmas to all of you. Please be safe out there, and thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate your time. All right, that's going to do it. And on behalf of John and myself, thank you. We will have a news presence, but we won't be having Talkback until January 2nd. So until then, you guys have a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year and all that from Talkback.